Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to return to Milford Common where I was a few weeks ago, and it's right next to where I was last time actually. It's closer to the houses, and what I discovered was actually that there's a lot of very interesting signs closer to human habitation than there are further away. And of course this would make most people think, well, it's obviously humans that are making these little structures, but I don't think that's the case. I've seen no evidence that it's regular humans making these structures. So this is Milford Common, Cannock Chase Country Park. Yeah, that's where it is. And well, let me just give you the big picture. So there's Stafford, the county town of Staffordshire in the Midlands, north of Birmingham, like 30 miles north of Birmingham. And there's Milford Common on Cannock Chase. All right. Gives you a bit of context. And in the last video I did on Milford Common, I went right next to the car park, which is basically where that little pinpoint is. So the car park is here, and I was looking around here and here. And of course there's all houses along here, as you can see, and there's car parks and things along here and a road. But I only looked at this area here in the last video about it. So I thought I'd go and have a quick look around here, this area, just to see if there's anything there. And I found a lot of stuff. Very, very interesting area. You probably think I'm mad looking for Bigfoot on Cannock Chase. I could quite sympathize with you. It makes no sense to look for Bigfoot on Cannock Chase unless you consider that you have to follow the evidence. Now, I just want to illustrate my point with, I'll show you a video I just came across while I was making this video. Take a look at this for comparison here. On the left, this is a video, I was just watching this video today, just came across it, Bigfoot Case Files channel. It's a forest in America on some private land, and these people have got Bigfoot problems on their property. Right, remember that, yeah? And then compare it to this. This is what I filmed on Milford Common. It could be the same forest. It's exactly the same habitat. So not only have we got exactly the same habitat in the UK as what they've got in America, but we're getting the same signs, same little structures. So I'm sorry if England is too small to accommodate Bigfoot. I'm sorry if it's not glamorous enough. It's not as glamorous as, you know, Vancouver or California. I'm sorry about all that, but I have to follow the evidence. If we've got the same habitat and we're getting the same signs, then I've just got to follow that lead, even if it's not politically correct. So let's go through these photos. I'll show you the exact area on Milford Common where I was at. Let's have a look at the satellite image. Alright, so it's this area around here where I'm just indicating here. Okay. So all the houses, all the people around, doesn't seem to make any difference to the boggarts. In fact, they like to be around the people. I'm going to show you why I think they like to be around the people. So first thing I started to notice was the sticks leaning up against trees, and they seem to have been placed. And also the broken off, like this one here, snapped off small trees and branches. So these ones here leaned against each other and against the main tree. And the whole area looks like it's been, look, these ones have been laid down here. Just looks like it's trampled and something has been up to something. Here we have some sticks just positioned apparently like that in the fork of the tree. Obviously could be natural, just fallen there by itself, but I'm starting to notice, getting a feel for it now when I know it's been placed there deliberately. One instinctively knows when one is in an area that has been modified and seen activity from these creatures, whatever they are. It's just you start to get a feel for it. And I knew before too long I was going to come across a little teepee, and there, lo and behold, there was a teepee right there. That one there. Notice this little lintel above the door. This seems to be part of the style of architecture. They always put a lintel above the door. And a few meters away, a limb break. Always broken off at the same kind of height. I mean, it could have been kids. Of course it could. But I'm just saying, I'm looking at the evidence here. This is the same behavior, same evidence that's found in Sasquatch areas in America. And I keep finding it all over here. This is like the start of a teepee. They'll lean up the sticks against here. It's always the same. They'll lean the sticks up here like that. If they go as far as to make a structure. And a rock placed on top of the leaf litter and the soil, not covered by leaves, so it can't have been there very long. Same sort of size as the other rocks that I found placed around the bottom of trees that have been modified by whoever. There's a building site here, construction site. They're building a block of flats or whatever right next to this little wooded area. This wooded area has been highly modified. It's been a lot of activity here. A little collection of sticks placed under this tree. The area kept really clear. I don't know if that's just from trampling or people walking or whatever, but another pebble placed exactly where you expect to find it, under a tree. Sticks collected under the tree, the ends broken off and just placed there. This is all characteristic. It's the same pattern each time. With a rock. The sticks, some of them look like, I mean, this looks like something sat here, or at least something has cleared the leaves away. This has been broken off or chewed off, and this one here has been manipulated and broken off at the ends. These branches here have been bent down by something. This one here, you can see it's just been broken and then it's hanging down. And the little twigs and things have been snapped off. All the side branches. This is all characteristic. And something that I've noticed a lot in Cannock Chase, which is absent, I believe, from the American structures, is this here. Do you see this? Let's zoom in a little bit. This branch here has been partially sawn through. Somebody has sawn through about 3/4 the way through, and then it's been broken off and twisted. And this, the action of partially sawing and then breaking off. This is something they seem to do. They seem to have tools here on Cannock Chase. They're tool using. They've got hold of saws, probably stole them out of someone's garden shed. This here has obviously been placed here. Looks like the bark has been stripped off. And all these trees have been modified here. All the side branches have been removed. This one here has been partially broken and then just bent down there. But this one here has been placed here. This is definitely classic. Yeah, classic in the fork here of the tree. I think that's been deliberately placed there. And a rock on top of, that means it's been placed there. It's on top of the leaves. Another one there too. I don't think these have just been exposed by weathering because there's been deposition here. There's been leaves and moss growing. That has been placed there probably. That I don't know. I mean, it could have been placed there a long time ago and the moss has started to grow on top of it. This whole area is just full of activity. You can see we're still in the same place. There's the construction site. These have all been twisted and placed like that. All the side branches snapped off on this little sapling here. By the look of it, this is classic Woodwose, leaning these sticks up against the tree like this. Yeah, all leaning up there. And the tree's bent over. That's been trained like that. And then branches snapped off here. And then bundled up and placed here and next to this tree. So this is all classic. Sticks gathered and just placed around here, leaning up against the trees and gathered into little bundles of sticks. A teepee of some description. Clearly, that's been made. The whole tree's been prepared for it. See that? Leaning up against there like that. And that, they've got this kind of broken, chewed off ends of these sticks. And they've been stripped of their, partially of their bark, and it was placed in the fork of the tree like that. This has all been modified and done by someone. Okay, now next to that construction site where they're building those flats, I've come across another one of these, looks like a kind of an evergreen tree of some description. What is this? This is like a holly or something. And underneath looks like there's been a lot of activity. I won't call it a place where they've been sleeping because apparently they're nocturnal, so they'd have to be sleeping in the day. And obviously nobody's seen them sleeping in the day. There's people coming through here all the time, every day at least, with their dogs. But underneath here looks like there's a hangout. It's all trampled down, there's collections of sticks. Stuff's been broken off. Sticks been broken off. This is round the back of the construction site. This has all been modified and cleared here. It's like a little den, but I don't think it's children that have done this, because it's not private enough for children. I noticed wrappers and bottles and things nearby. I'll get into the bottles in a minute. A lot of people will just imagine or assume that homeless people have been bedding down under there. I don't believe that's the case at all. There's no homeless people around there, and it wouldn't be private enough. It's not the sort of place you would choose if you didn't want to be seen. And nobody's ever seen any homeless people living up there. I believe that the trolls or boggarts or whatever that are doing all this stuff, they go through landfill. They've got underground tunnels or some kind of access to landfill sites, which are actually on Cannock Chase. There must be. And they're also going through people's bins and bringing in colourful bits of plastic. This whole area has been trampled. The sticks have been broken. This is classic. Sticks piled up and placed around. And there's bits of plastic and rubbish that have been brought in. This whole area has been trampled, cleared. This stick's deliberately been placed here, obviously. It's like the ends look chewed off and it's stripped of bark. This is a boggart stick. Yeah, I don't think this is homeless people. I don't think it's children. In the daytime, there'd be construction workers observing everything you do. It must be used at night time because that's the only time you get any privacy. So I continued through this bit of forest here, finding signs absolutely everywhere. So there's two big sticks leaning up the tree here. And more over here. Just everywhere you look, it's exactly the same. Sticks leaning up against trees, placed there, the bark stripped off the sticks, the ends broken off, snapped off. Always in exactly the same way. Now this is interesting. This is exactly the same, and this is all within, a few meters of all the other sites. If it's all very, very localized, all this activity. These are bottles from, I don't know how old they are. They must be very old because they're milk bottles, and they don't have glass milk bottles anymore. They haven't had them for a long time. But these are local dairy company milk bottles, and people go up to Cannock Chase who walk their dogs there, and sometimes they collect these ancient bottles because some of them are quite ancient, and they're just found lying on top of the leaf litter. And I believe they've been placed there. They must have been excavated from under the ground because there's no way in hell that glass bottles, some of them are hundreds of years old, could have remained on top of the leaf litter for hundreds of years or even decades like these ones. These are old. They're right next to each other, placed on top of the leaves. If they're, 50 years old or 70, maybe dating from the Second World War, then they can't possibly be on top of the leaf litter. They must have been placed there. The army during the Second World War and the First World War trained troops, soldiers were trained up there in huge camps on Cannock Chase. So they had extensive landfill sites on Cannock Chase for the disposal of the rubbish. Somebody or something has been under there, under the ground, excavating and removing the rubbish and putting it on the surface. That's why these bottles are found all over Cannock Chase. Because anything would naturally get buried, even if it hadn't been put in a landfill. It couldn't be on top of the leaves like this if it was an old bottle from decades or even centuries ago. See these two, this is exactly how I found them. These are old from the 50s or so. How could they have been there for 60 years, 70 years just lying there? They couldn't. They've been placed there deliberately. They've been removed from the landfill site underground and placed on top. There's been digging, and there's always a stick next to the little hole. Apparently the hole was dug with the stick. I mean, this could have been done by a dog or a rabbit even. This wasn't done by a dog or a rabbit. It's been snapped at the base, not enough to completely remove it from the ground, but still attached, and leaned up against this tree here. Leaned, and all its side branches stripped off so it's perfectly straight. Not broken enough to snap it completely, still attached. This is it from another angle here. Completely smooth, all the side branches removed, as you can see, right next to the car park. They like to do this activity next to where the humans are. And little teepee structures everywhere you look. Snapped, but not completely broken off, and leaned over with all its side branches removed, as if it's going to be the start of a teepee structure. Snapped. So that was the area next to Milford Common. I'm sorry that I couldn't present any video footage today because my phone wouldn't allow me to capture video on that particular day. I think it maybe needed an update or something to the software, and it just wouldn't let me take any video footage. So I took photos instead. But anyway, thank you for watching, and look out for my next video, which I'll hopefully upload today, where I go to Doxey Marshes in Stafford to look for more beaver structures, following this idea that possibly the boggarts are living like beavers in swampy bogs.